If God is so good, God is so loving, God is so kind, why did he allow me to go through this?
That feeling of not feeling enough, or I didn't do enough, or I didn't check enough boxes. And God goes, I checked them all with my son.
It would be like saying the creator is afraid of his creation.
Hey, everyone. Pastor Caleb here with Dr. Pastor JP.
Hold on.
We're excited to be here
today. Can you give me that bag of chocolate, please?
JP and his sweet tooth. So we are here doing something a little bit different, but also something we've been saying we're going to do. Just throw it in. Yeah. We've been saying we're going to do this for a while. We are reacting to some of your comments and questions. If you are new to our channel, this is Dr. Pastor JP. He is a doctor in psychology and theology, counseling, and lead pastor of our church. And I'm the youth pastor at our church, and we've been reacting to different music videos and videos at this point, and we wanted to take a second.
And we've had a lot of comments.
We've had a lot of comments, and we appreciate that. So we wanted to take a second and let you know that we do see them. We just don't get a chance to respond to them all. But we wanted to try to today. So
some of them.
Some. So we'll start with this one by @Frank Smith. It said, if we're all made in God's image and made for a purpose, how do we find that purpose?
It's great.
It's a great question.
No. You have an answer? Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm on chocolate mode right now.
I mean, we say at the end of every video that we do, keep your nose in the book. And so if you want to find God's purpose for your life, you have to listen to what he's saying to you.
Yes.
And so I would say, number one, you got to read the book in a way that not just like you would read any other book. You have to read it like it's history, and there is commands in there, and there's tasks in there, and there's things, not that you have to do those things for salvation, but there are things that God tells us to do to live out the Christian life.
True.
And there's specific verses that even say this is the purpose. Like in Ephesians 2, I think there's one, in Philippians. And so what were you thinking?
All over the place. Okay, so Genesis chapter 2, God creates Adam and Eve, right? And he said, I created them in my image.
Correct.
And so understanding that from the beginning, there is a overarching purpose for humankind. The overarching purpose for humankind is to be image bearers of God, because we were created in his image.
Right.
And so being created in his image, we also have a purpose. Now, we're saying all this with the idea that we believe the Bible is true, and that's our foundation. Like, if you're not coming from it from that perspective, you won't get this. You won't see that. You won't see that answer. So, not being critical, just saying where we're coming from. And so, knowing that we were made in his image, and knowing that we were made to bear his image, to be image bearers, right? How do we find that purpose? Well, I think what God does is he creates us all individually. Different gifts, abilities, likes, dislikes, all kinds of stuff, right? And so as we
got you a table. And
thank you. I know people are concerned about me. I think many times people try to drill down too deep, and they're not looking at what's right in front of them. Like, God can use you to bear his image within the person that you are. That's who he created you to be, and he loves you for that. And so he wants you to use those things to be the image bearer, which is the purpose, the overarching purpose, so that people can see who he says he is.
Well, and Jesus even the Pharisees were testing him, and they said, hey, what's the best commandment? What's the greatest? And he just said, love one another. Right. And so using where you're at, you don't have to be a pastor like we are, which some would say it's probably worse to be a pastor.
I would say
honestly.
You should consider that highly.
But wherever you're at, whether it's the factory or McDonald's or wherever you're at, like, being able to show love and kindness to people. We're studying we're studying Ephesians
I
in
think
the
I
youth
lost
group.
there we go. I lost
And Ephesians 4, the very last verse, it says, "Be kind." How crazy is that? Be kind. Like, if you want to learn your purpose and what God wants you to be, He wants you to be kind to other people.
I mean, and that would be great.
Yeah.
That's the beginning.
Yeah.
But if we're not viewing ourselves as people who are created in the image of God and are by nature designed to bear His image, then you won't find that purpose. You'll find another purpose. And I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that's why I said we're using the Bible as the foundation, not somebody else or something else. But
that's a great question. That's a great question.
Yeah,
Let's
great
keep
question.
moving, though, because we got a lot to cover. I have a question, if that's okay. Would it
Sure.
be wrong? Oh, I read this one. This is a good one. Would it be wrong if I raised a child as a Christian parent to not push the religion on him, but kindly invite them to do everything that comes under the umbrella of Christianity? Make it their choice from the ground up. Just never heard of it being done like this, so I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do. P.S. Whilst typing this, I had my first thought of, I could believe in this way of life ever. I've always said that it's not for me. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Welcome.
Come on in. Parenting. So that's
Wow,
that's a great question. And I actually really like the way it's presented. As a parent, I don't think you should force anything on your kids, whether that be necessarily, let me say this the correct way. You should set the standard. You should live and set the example. But parenting in a way where you're not pushing religion, I think is great. Having an open conversation from the beginning. Hey, this is why I think this is wrong. Chapter and verse, like we said. And kind of walking your kids through, this is why Jesus says this thing is wrong, or this is wrong, and this is why. And so, but as a new believer, I would definitely say you need to get some advice from a stronger believer too, and kind of help.
So I have an answer to this, and it sounds kind of simplistic. I wouldn't push religion on anyone, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
To not push religion on him or her, but to kindly. I would say, if you believe in Jesus, teach them about Jesus. You don't have to push it on them.
Exactly.
But it's not religion that we're promoting here.
No.
It's God Himself and His Son Jesus. That's what we're promoting. And so you don't have to push that on them. There's verses in the Bible that say, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is older, he will not depart from those things. And so if you train them correctly, I believe. Now, hey, we all know kids, right? Kids can be bad. Right?
Yeah, they can.
And I would say teaching them and helping them understand right from wrong based on God's word.
Right.
Not forcing it on them. I kind of went through that. Not interested.
Yeah.
That's not something I like. But I think, great question, but don't push religion on them. What religion are you going to pick to push on them?
Yeah, push Jesus. Not even push. Show Jesus.
Yeah,
live
just teach
Jesus.
them. Teach them about Jesus and
exactly.
let them
see
live
it, right.
live your life in a way that exemplifies who He is. If you go back to our last question, bear His image to your kiddos. Let them see it. That doesn't mean you won't correct.
It doesn't mean you won't screw up either.
Oh, trust me.
Pastor,
You
Pastor,
will.
how many times did you screw up with
Too
your
many.
kids? I have 2 3-year-olds.
Let's just say this:
I
we're
screw up
not going to
daily.
let my kids on this podcast.
Right. Well, and even with the
and I have older children. I mean, I have 6 grandkids.
You don't have 3-year-olds.
Yeah, no.
I was thinking about the religion side and a story you've shared. I'm going to share it anyway, and Dalton can cut it out if you say, "Hey, don't share that."
No, it's
but
fine.
You had people that really wanted you to put your kids in Christian school,
Well,
and you decided not to.
we said absolutely not.
Exactly. And that comes from a side of, hey, we're not going to push the
Do
religion.
you want to hear something funny?
But we're going to let them go and be a part of the world too.
We wanted to teach them how to navigate life in a real way using.
Christians are very good at making bubbles.
We are.
And we're trying with this video series and stuff. We're trying to pop those bubbles.
We are. Yeah, that did happen.
Yeah.
It was a private school, and we were offered that someone would pay for both of our kids to go to private school. We would have to pay nothing. And it sounded very attractive to begin with. But my wife and I finally came to the conclusion that if we're going to teach them, that's our responsibility. And we're going to teach them how to live and navigate life and share their faith.
Psalm 139.
In a real way.
It talks about children being a quiver full of arrows. And the reality is you use arrows to shoot directly at the enemy, not hide in your quiver. And we've twisted that verse to where we need 7-8 kids in a Christian family.
Yeah.
But the reality is how you're training them, like you said.
Yeah, you gotta, I think, and this is just my opinion. Again, we'll probably get comments on the comments. That's, which I know we're going to get.
We'll do more comment videos.
But I don't believe we should any parent should abdicate the responsibility of training up their child to someone else.
No.
That doesn't mean public school is bad. That doesn't mean Christian school is bad. I'm just saying we can't let go of that. It's our responsibility.
Yeah, I agree.
So great question. And
hopefully that
teach them about Jesus.
Teach them about Jesus.
Yeah, don't
represent Jesus.
Forget the religion part.
Yep. I'm 38. My dad was a Christian. We went to church every week. We didn't have money, but he instilled to me that the money doesn't matter. We are capable. So we donated our time. At 16, he was 45. He died of a heart attack. Even though he was in shape, my best friend's dad was a POS, diabetic, that loves booze, drugs, was a cheater and not keeping up with his blood sugar. POS is still alive 14 years after my dad was taken. Lost my faith as a teenager. Any God that wants to torture a teen isn't a God I care about.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry that happened to your dad. I mean, that's difficult. And many times when bad things happen, to a seemingly good person, healthy guy, and he's taken away, a lot of times the first reaction is, I'm going to blame God. Well, I get that. Because we have been taught to believe that God is supposed to fix everything, and why would he treat me like that? And that's a great question because it makes sense, right? If God is so good, God is so loving, God is so kind, why did he allow me to go through this and this guy over here to not, and he just is living a life? It all begins back with the creation of man. Again, we're coming from a biblical perspective here, using the Bible as our foundation. When sin came into the world, Adam and Eve don't eat of the fruit. Eve ate of the fruit. Adam ate of the fruit. They sinned. They were expelled out of the garden. The things that we struggle with and that we go through today aren't necessarily God. It's a result of sin that happened. And there is an answer to that, and we think, well, if God is who he says he is, then he should take all the bad things away. Well, there will be a day when that happens, but for now, it's not that way. We live in a world that's broken and busted. I've asked this same question.
Me too. Yep.
This is actually a good question. I've asked this. Yeah, but God, how about this and why? And we have to remain focused on why things happen the way they do in our life. I don't think necessarily that it's God trying to punish anyone or God trying to get back at anyone. I think it's a result of sin. At least that's what the Bible says. And so I heard an illustration that I'd like to explain that will help this. So you go to a classical concert, right? And it's billed, this guy is the greatest concert pianist ever. And he begins to play, the orchestra's playing, and the pianist gets up and he starts to play Mozart. And as he starts to play Mozart, it was weird. It's weird because he's hitting the wrong notes. He's not playing it well. And you're sitting there, man, I just paid $100 for these tickets, and this guy, he's not playing it well. And so, here's the connection. many times we look at those who play life bad and blame the composer.
The creator. Yep.
God's the composer. Just because somebody plays life bad or bad things happen doesn't mean that God is necessarily responsible. No, he's not responsible for that. And this is gonna bring up a huge thing, and the comments will probably be, I do not believe that God created evil. That's a big argument, I just don't. I believe through an act of will and choice, we've chosen to do certain things, and thereby we live in a world that's broken and fallen
and has evil in it.
And many times we are the recipients of the aftermath of that evil, which really kind of sucks, to be honest. And I feel bad, but yeah, I'm sorry about your dad, and I understand the tension between the two, and I understand why you're struggling with why should I care about God when he doesn't care about me. That makes perfect sense. But I will tell you, he does care about you, and he loves you enough to send his own son to die for all those bad things. So, and that may not be the answer you're looking for, but yeah, I feel bad about that.
I shy away from God right now because I'm assuming that's an I. I don't feel I deserve him. I'm incredibly hard on myself to be worthy, but I can't. This is Christianity on the head. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is probably one of the most disgusting verses in the Bible when you look at the actual translation, and it's Isaiah 64, 6:4. And it says, man at their most righteous is like filthy rags. Do some research on filthy rags.
Do some research on that.
Because it's gross.
Filthy.
And so this idea that I don't feel worthy, I don't feel I deserve him. I don't deserve God. Do you deserve God?
No.
Dalton, do you deserve God? That's the beauty.
I have proven in my life that I don't deserve.
We're all equally screwed up. He gave us a list of commandments and things not to do. Every single person in this room, in this building.
And here's the cool part.
He gives us
It's
hope.
Not contingent on whether we're deserving or not.
Exactly.
It all hinges on his love for mankind and what he did.
Yeah.
And who he cares about.
It's not about what I do for him. It's what he did for me.
Deserving or worthy.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, which that is also a part of like growing up, what you experienced, what you were told, how you were treated, and then we get into these cycles of not feeling worthy, and then we transfer that to a God who
loves you,
loves us, and
much.
it's not based on my worthiness.
No,
I can't do anything to make myself enough. So that means how do I make myself enough? And God says, oh, I got a plan for that. I sent my son Jesus. It's Easter time.
Yep.
That's what Easter's all about.
Yep.
So great question. And I would say
Ephesians 2, 8, 9, and 10.
Being incredibly hard on yourself, and which will lead to not being worthy. And I would probably guess that I don't know this person. I've not emailed them, have not talked to them. But I would probably guess they're struggling with a lot of depression and anxiety and fear.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Which is
normal.
Pretty common. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, no, and that's just the beauty of Christianity, is none of us are worthy. None of us deserve grace. And like that verse I just said, Ephesians 2, for by grace you have been saved through faith, not by works, but it is the gift of God.
Well, that's what grace means. Yeah. Receiving something that you do not deserve.
Yeah.
That's grace in itself. And that's what the Bible talks about.
Yeah.
He willingly gave that to us.
Yeah. I saw this question and I liked it because feeling of not feeling enough, or I didn't do enough, or I didn't check enough boxes. And God goes, I checked them all with my son. Just come to me.
I feel it.
Yeah.
I have felt this way myself.
Yep. I love the line. So maybe it's you who actually fears me. Thinking about that on a deeper level, I think that if there's a God, that's probably the exact reason God hasn't shown himself. He saw what he created and he's scared of it. He's seen what kind of place this world has become and is sitting up there debating if he wants to show himself. What do you think about that?
I understand the line of thinking, the logic behind that. I understand that, and that would seem to be logical. But what we fail to realize is God is outside of logic.
Mm.
I believe he's an eternal being, no beginning, no end. I believe in his characteristics as an almighty creator, a sovereign creator who is in control or has control. And it would be like saying that the creator, who we believe is God, is afraid of his creation, which I can understand that to some extent on a human level.
Well, it almost like Dr. Frankenstein level. Like,
Yeah,
I'm afraid.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid I created. I guess I don't want to reveal myself.
Yeah.
The interesting part about it is Romans talks about God has revealed himself, and you can see him through creation and all the things that he's done. So it makes sense. It's logical. It's a logical statement and conclusion. However, I think it's based on a different concept about what God is and who God is. And the reason I say that is because the statement, if there is a God.
Yeah.
I'm approaching it
there is
100% saying there is a God, not if there is a God.
Yeah.
And I understand why the person's saying that. I mean, John, his name is, I think, but great question. And I get that. I mean, it seems to make logical sense, but believing that there is a God and these outside of logic.
Well, and we have the Bible so God's hiding from creation, but all of Israel's story is God showing up for them. All of the New Testament, like giving us Jesus, so he's showing up for us.
If you can say that outside of the boundaries of Scripture, right? The Bible, and it would be true.
Yeah.
But if you believe the Bible to be true, which a lot of our listeners don't,
right?
And I get that. That's fine. But we're using, like, if we're not coming from the same foundation, like he would be, I believe, not trying to be critical, but coming from a different foundational point to approach our conclusions. And many times we have what's called presuppositions, that we arrive at something, a conclusion based on something we've already decided, and we have to challenge what we've already decided truth, or is it based on something not factual? And so, great question. And I've wondered, at times, why doesn't God show himself in this? And he chooses not to. And I have to resolve myself to the fact that he's outside of time, space, logic, and that he is almighty, infinite, in control. And so he probably knows a little bit more than me.
Yeah.
And that's why there are some things I don't have to know.
As much as it hurts to not know.
Man.
So we're going to wrap this one up. We'll do some more of these. Thanks for watching. Check out our other React videos to Dax, NF, Ren, Jelly Roll.
Be kind.
There's more coming out. Be kind. And don't forget,
keep your nose in the book.